Good evening. I'd like to call to order the Gateway School Board of Directors study session meeting. Today is Tuesday, June 13th. Would you please rise for the allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Bonnie, can we have a roll call?
Yes, Mrs. Cerrucci?
Here.
Mrs. Delaney?
Here.
Ms. Mungo?
Here.
Mr. Ritter?
Here.
Dr. Singh?
Here.
Mrs. Warning?
Here.
And Mr. Williams?
Here.
Mr. Boba and our president and our vice president are both absent this evening, so you get stuff with me to run the meeting. Is there any residents?
Bonnie, I'm on Zoom. It's Leslie.
Oh, Leslie, okay, I'm sorry. I got you then. Thank you.
Thanks, Leslie. Are there any comments from residents on agenda items?
We do have Rabbi Barbara.
Good evening. Barbara Simons, Rabbi Barbara Simons, in Monroeville. So I learned that this resolution was coming forward from Valerie Warning, from a board member, about acknowledging Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. And so I just want to say I feel it's a gift. I mean, that I didn't bring this forward, that someone else in the community brought this forward and said, this is what a community is, right? That we want to acknowledge the diversity of our town, our towns, is really important. So I wanted to start with gratitude, as we always should. I also wanted to say that, this has been a long time, for all the history of Temple David, working through some of the ways to help our students and parents and people who work for the school district feel equal to others. And I just want to give a very brief story, and that is that early on in my time here, when Dr. Stewart was the superintendent, I came to him and I said, so there's a challenge in that for perfect attendance at Gateway, you had to have perfect attendance. So while if you celebrated Christmas, you were off, so you still had perfect attendance. If you celebrated any other holiday, whether you were Eastern Orthodox or you were Hindu or you were Muslim or you were Jewish or whatever, you could not get perfect attendance. So he brought that forward and we tried to work that through to some extent, to some effect. And so I invite you to really think about, when you acknowledge Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, what does that mean in real terms? And so, for example, my own kids included, but other Jewish kids at school is, so does that mean that testing will be avoided, or there'll be a simple process for doing a makeup test? Or if there is some kind of getting ready for the test session, that will not be only limited to the day that they are going to miss for a sacred occasion. I've had families who have been challenged by picture day. That particular one was not Gateway, but for example, they want to be able to go picture day. And the answer in the other district is, well, there's always a makeup picture day, and that's okay. But then if you don't like the only one you get, that just doesn't feel like it's equal. So I also think, in terms of not being penalized for missing sporting practices and games and other things that kids do, the question of acknowledgement is really very important. We understand that the Jewish calendar, like the Muslim calendar, is lunar, and therefore that holidays move. So we're not going to be very cooperative on it's always, on a given day. But at the same, like Easter, however, but at the same time, this year happens to be particularly easy because a lot of them happen to fall on Saturdays. But I do want to hand out one thing, and that is a letter that we have annually sent to Dr. Short and his predecessor, and so I just updated it for this year. But it explains all of our holidays and how important they are. Like if some kid says, no, I can't do my homework, it's Hanukkah. No, that does not count. That's a minor holiday, that does not count. But no, if I'm going to be potentially at worship services for hours upon hours and fasting for Yom Kippur, then from sundown the night before until sundown after, having fasted, no, they really can't do the homework that day. So in trying to understand that, one of the things also, one of the offers, which you'll see in this cover letter, is that I and my interfaith colleagues are happy to come in to talk to whether it is administration, whether it is faculty, whoever is helpful, to be able to help people understand the diversity of Monroeville. So, thank you.
Thank you.
You'll pass them down. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Anybody else? So she's passing this out.
You want me to call her, so, yeah. Sorry, can I just ask, is there a way that the board members who are not present can get them, or do I need to email it, or what happens?
Mrs. Asia will take care of it.
If you need it in email, let me know.
I can scan it, thank you.
Okay, I don't see Matt and Sam's here. You guys come on up?
No, that won't be here.
Okay, so we'll skip over that for that. Stephanie Taylor and Andrew Lee.
I'm Andrew tonight. Thank you. We won't take up a lot of your time. My name is Jesse Merkel. I'm stepping in for Andrew. I'm the regional sports director for Special Olympics, and Stephanie Taylor is our UCS manager for the region.
Which means Unified Champion Schools.
Sorry, yeah.
And Gateway is one of our proud Unified Champion Schools.
So there was a handout that kind of lays out the specific details, but to give you a quick recap, last week Special Olympics was supposed to have our state summer games. That is when all the athletes from across Pennsylvania come together. They have to qualify for the state level event, and they go to Penn State to compete for the final culminating event at the end of our spring season. Unfortunately, due to the smoke from the wildfires, the difficult decision was made to cancel, and even more difficult, all of the buses were on the way. So they had to turn around, and a lot of tears were shed. So it was a hard time.
You should have called us to go back here.
It was a hard time for a lot of our athletes, coaches, and Special Olympics for our staff. So all we're thinking is, what can we do for these athletes? And so what we would like to do is host our own regional summer games. We're calling it the Regional Rumble. And really, we just need a location for that. And Stephanie actually mentioned Gateway. That was one of the first thoughts, just because we've used facilities before through UCS. It has everything that we need between basketball, track and field, tennis, swimming. And it's a pretty central location for all of our athletes. It is between the 10 southwest counties of Pennsylvania. I won't list them all for you, but that's kind of where everyone's traveling from. So again, that central location. And it's really just to give these athletes who worked hard all season, they did everything they needed to do. They qualified and they made it. And you know, I think that they deserve to compete. And so that's really what we're looking for. It is hopefully scheduled for June 25th is the date that we're requesting. It is a quick turnaround, but just with all of the teams, you know.
Sunday.
Yeah, it's a Sunday. The season is supposed to be over by now, so we didn't want to have them train again for another 2 months. You know, we want to get this rolling. So a lot on our plate, but we're willing to do it for the athletes if you guys are able to help out.
Dawn, I believe you looked at that date.
Yes, we have, all the facilities typically on Sunday are wide open, and we can accommodate. Coincidentally, Matt has some baseball and softball. They had asked for that facility as well, and I would reach out to Matt and see if we could relocate just those Sunday games so that we can offer that facility. They don't need both, but they'll need one of the two fields. And other than that, we're good as far as facilities availability. And,
That is the base.
and despite the fact that we've had some discussion about, clearly about rentals and the new rental fees and all those kind of things and the new schedule that we put forward, I personally would make a recommendation that we offer the facilities at no charge as our donation to the Special Olympics. I'd like to ask the board that on my behalf. There you have.
I'm sure you guys are, you have a nonprofit.
Yes.
Aren't,
Yeah.
I have to pull up the thing, but aren't nonprofits free anyway?
There's still a component of residency involved in that. So
They have been on our field team and done this.
Participating to live in Monroeville here.
There are no athletes. We talked about inviting the UCS team to be a part of our day if they would like.
There you go.
Okay.
Works.
So would there be a conflict if you see in section C, an item that, I mean, okay,
That is Matthew.
okay.
Sure, Matt would work with you.
Okay.
Yeah, Matt.
We'd have to work out the baseball, softball component
Okay,
with Atlantic Coast.
okay, yeah.
Can I just make a suggestion? Is it possible to get extra bathroom facilities with the number of people that we will be having?
Obviously, I don't know that I can speak for, Bob's department, because it's already come up. We had a water department here today,
Okay.
because of some water pressure issues that compounded the problem. We found, obviously, some of it's trial and error with all these events. We hosted 28 PNWA or Whitfield playoff games, and such great publicity and a lot of great feedback. But one thing we didn't anticipate was, it looks like the bathrooms at Acrisure Stadium, sometimes the lines we had, because there's just, we didn't design that facility initially to have that many spectators. So yes, I
How
think,
many people do you guys expect?
So the athletes are just over 300. There is a number in there that's around 700 between athletes, coaches, volunteers, and spectators.
So around 700?
Yeah.
And that would be spread out over the track, the field area, and also
Yeah.
pool and
of course,
tennis.
Basketball.
Okay.
Basketball,
Gyms, if possible.
What if the weather's bad, if it's raining? Have you guys thought about that?
So, yeah, here.
I don't
was
wanna say
putting
it,
my-
but-
Yeah, in my pre-tournament game plan, plan A, it's not gonna rain.
Right,
Plan B, we compete in the rain. Plan
Okay.
C, if it's thunderstorms, we'll call it or delay it.
okay.
If it's bad weather, we'll call it, but we had our track meet this year.
It's not gonna rain.
Exactly, it's not going to, but if it does.
Mary Beth's gonna order it not to rain.
Perfect.
as a bonus, with turf, other than tennis might get a little dicey, with wet
Okay.
courts. The track is, we run track meets in the rain, and we certainly compete on the field, and then the others are indoor. So we still have a chance. I'm guessing nobody asked you before the last time, when you have wildfires in Canada.
No, that was not on my motion.
Do you bring your own lifeguard? How does that work for the pool?
Yeah, so we supply all the volunteers,
Okay.
equipment, everything, we just need a place to play.
Okay.
And I'm sure we probably have something for you to sign, like around agreement that's like hold harmless or something.
And we do have a certificate of insurance that will cover the facilities and everything.
We can email you that
Yeah.
as soon as possible if you'd like.
I'll make a motion to make this an action item for tonight because of the nature of the timing.
Motion and second.
Is there any more discussion on this?
Thank you for considering our
Okay, so
facilities.
now we have to.
Okay, we're gonna take a
action.
vote. We have a motion on the floor and to make this an action item.
Just all those in favor?
All those in favor of making an action item, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, now it's an action item, so we
No.
actually
No, motion's in order.
to vote on it. Okay. I'm gonna jump ahead to that. Is there a motion to approve the facility rental to Special Olympics pending, obviously, the
Approved documents, registration, certified lifeguards, et cetera.
and issues with the ball field to be worked out?
Correct.
Facility rental pro bono.
Yes.
That's Scott.
Is there a motion to that?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Any more questions before we vote? Okay, roll call.
Roll call. Mrs. Cerucci?
Aye.
Mrs. Delaney?
Aye.
Mrs. McBride?
Aye.
Ms. Mungo?
Aye.
Mr. Ritter?
Aye.
Dr. Singh?
Aye.
Mrs. Warning?
Aye.
And Mr. Williams?
Aye.
Okay, motion approved. Let's get planning.
Thank you guys so much.
Thanks.
Thank you.
It's awesome.
Thank you. Yeah, we'll.
So-
Back on all the documents. Now we're moving on to board member discussion. Any board members who want to bring up anything this evening to discuss?
I spoke with Matt DeSantis. For me, that maybe enter into a contract with him. I suggested that he meet us for an executive. So we can go over his proposal, and if we have a counter offer, we do a counter offer with him. Being it's a contract, I explained only the board can do contracts. So he's anxious to meet with us whenever we have spare time, so maybe before next board meeting.
So who is Matt?
He runs Atlantic Coast Baseball, which is on the agenda.
We tabled.
Okay. Okay, good, very good.
The multiple field rentals for the summer.
You want to set that up for 5 PM?
Yeah, that's fine.
So 5 PM next Monday.
Yes.
Tuesday.
Monday for you, Bruce.
That's right. That's plum.
Okay.
Don't confuse us now.
That's all I have this evening.
Anybody else? Okay, section B, bills and financial reports.
Thank you, Dr. Ford. Section B, financial reports. Resolved that the Gateway Board of School Directors approves Section 1, list of bills, financial reports, June 2023.
Okay, anybody have any questions for Mr. Girls? Okay, moving along. C, previously tabled.
Yes. We have,
Is there any motion to untable anything?
I'm going to keep that tabled until we talk with Mr. DeSantis.
But in the meantime, I guess he would use the fields and just pay full price until we decide what's going on.
correct, that was essentially what was happening.
We just have to discuss also if there's any damage or anything done, the responsibility of who's going to take care of that.
Yeah, I'm not discussing that since it's still tabled. Moving on, section G, board member resolutions. Is this really board member resolution? Board policy 6.
It's about the meetings. They had to redo the wording on it.
Yeah, whose motion is that?
It was mine, but then it was changed many times as far as the wording. So I make a motion to untable this.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor of untabling section G, board member resolutions?
Aye.
Is that really, is that tabled?
Because we did not have the correct wording.
The language.
Okay. All right, all those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, closure.
I do not have the wording, the language, so we need to see where it's at. Maiko?
It's actually on board docs under, policies on display. It is on board docs.
Okay.
So with the changing of the wording, we're going to put it back out on display?
It's been out there with the changes.
Is it on there with the changes? So we can basically vote to approve it.
Has it been out long enough?
I posted it on board docs last Thursday, I'm sorry.
So it would need
30 days.
30
It's
days.
another 30 days,
Okay.
because we changed it.
Correct.
Okay, so we want to have a motion to approve the 30-day display of the changes of board policy 6.
Is it possible to have it written so people in the audience can see what the change is?
Yeah, we can,
That's what's on display in board docs, yeah.
yeah, that is what's on display right now in board docs.
But we can
Just print it.
print it out and make it for
Yes, we can print it out. I can
Can
have
you
it.
find that, Michael, or not?
No, that's what this
Just,
is.
Yeah, I can find it.
Thank you. Just to make sure it's exactly how everybody is satisfied with it.
It's on paper now, so do we want to look at the wordings before we vote to put it on 30-day display again?
It was out there, I looked at it like 2 days ago, it's already out there, just I'm not finding it, and I listened to about 40 documents. It's in here somewhere, I just can't find it.
Yeah, if you look under policies on display, John, one more down,
Literally in the agenda.
What's the code number?
006.
006.
Still not finding it.
Oh, it's not under the exhibits, it's under policies on display.
Okay, that's what it was, okay. That's not finding it.
This is where we were adding all the meetings we're going to be
recording
recorded
of board
in.
There it
meetings,
is.
right there.
Recording of board meetings. Thank you, Mike, really wonderful.
Yes.
Can you read that, Mr. Ritter? Closer.
Mhm.
Can you read it out loud?
Oh, can I read it out loud? Sure, recording a board meeting. Notifications of any type or audiovisual recording shall not be the official record of an open board meeting, but may be available for public access in accordance with board policy. Any new?
Charlie, can you go over to the microphone so people at home can hear?
He said that because I say that all the time.
That's true.
Okay, this is about whether board how to make our meetings more transparent, and this tries to go to the heart of the best way to do that. So recording of board meetings. Notations and any tape or AV recording shall not be the official record of an open board meeting, but may be available for public access in accordance with board policy. Any notations and or AV recordings of a board meeting shall be retained and disposed of in accordance with the district's records retention schedule. A live broadcast of board meetings shall be made when possible in an effort to inform the citizenry of official district actions. AV recordings of committee meetings may be made available following the same policy and procedures as the school board meeting recordings. And there's supposed to be a period at the end of this.
Now it needs another 30 days. Are you, is that?
If everybody's okay with that, that's fine.
Okay, now everybody's read it, so, is there a motion to approve it for 30-day display?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Scotty, second by Val. All those in favor of putting this on display for 30 days, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay. Okay, that's done. Thank you. I just didn't want to vote on that without everybody actually reading it. Okay, section D, personnel agenda.
Thank you. We have 3 resignations. One's a modification of a prior resignation, along with 5 leave of absences, 1 employee transfer, multiple paraprofessionals being recommended for hire along with the staff nurse, early literacy program teachers, ESY paraprofessionals, cyber facilitators compensation dictated there, along with event workers, and supplementals for both this previous school year and upcoming school year being rescinded and issued. In addition to independent volunteers as listed.
Okay, any questions for Ms. Jessel? None of those are action items. You're good for next week, right?
Good to go.
Okay, you have a week to think of questions. All right, moving on. I have the action items next for section F, administrative reports.
Administrative report, we have an action item for tonight. This would involve kitchen equipment. Mr. Zrels.
Thank you, Dr. Short. Item number 1, award of new kitchen equipment purchase and installation bid the cafeteria fund for the 23-24 fiscal year. Award the new kitchen equipment purchase and installation bid of two Colby ovens from Trimark SS Kemp LLC in a total of $39,013.15 as listed in Exhibit A. We want to get this on and get it voted on because we need to get it installed ASAP.
So moved.
Second.
Any questions?
The equipment, just question, the equipment that we have at Moss Side Middle, since we're not moving it, we're getting this, what will we do with the equipment that we have?
Good question. I guess just hold on to it for now until we see what happens down the road, because you'll see later on that we're going to be voting, or the board's going to be voting on the IU renting the room. So I'm assuming down the road, we're probably going to need equipment of some nature for whatever we end up doing with that building.
Okay.
But it's staying here.
Okay.
It's not going anywhere.
Can you repeat that? The equipment that's in there now, it was going where? We might use it for.
The equipment that's on Moss Side, like all the kitchen equipment is staying, we're purchasing all brand new equipment for the new middle school.
Mhm.
So the equipment that's over here is staying over here.
Okay, I thought you, I just understood what you said.
In case we can utilize it. Is there any value of selling it?
What's that?
No. I asked if there was any value of selling it, resale value. Okay, roll call.
Yes. Mrs. Delaney?
Oh, aye.
Mrs. McBride? Leslie, are you there?
Yep, sorry, I was trying to unmute. Aye.
Miss Mungo?
Aye.
Mr. Ritter?
Aye.
Dr. Singh?
Aye.
Mrs. Warning?
Aye.
Mr. Williams?
Aye.
And Mrs. Cerrucci?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay, next up is study session, section F, administrative report, Dr. Singh.
Elementary education, Dr. Rossi.
Item number one, we have some resource materials ready set to go to newcomers kit for ESL program, for secondary, 3 chairs for pre-K, Exhibit A, spring math, Exhibit B, new write-to-read classroom kits or handwriting resources, and Vision Algebra 1, algebra textbooks. And number 2, there's training for the NWE MAPS, one of our benchmark assessments that we use. And number 3 is public display for the ESL resources as listed. And item number 4 is renewal of the waterfront learning service agreement for the district establishment, the Allegheny Intermediate Unit.
Item number 5, a notification that effective 23-24 school year, Gateway Middle School will reopen with grade configurations of 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th at the conclusion of the renovation. Item number 6, approve to discuss the Pennsylvania Department of Education memorandum of understanding with the Monroeville Police Department and Gateway School District as depicted in Exhibit F.
Special education, Dr. Rossi, you want to take that one?
Item number 7 is the Title III Consortium. Item number 8, School Nursing Services Agreement with Biata Health. Item number 9 is Delphi Education Service Agreement. And item number 10 is the School-Based Access Program Support Services Agreement with the Allegheny Intermediate Unit.
Mr. Zarellis.
Item number 11, Forbes Road Career and Technology Center revenue anticipation note for the 23-24 fiscal year as listed. Item 12, payment of the Section B1 list of bills for the month of July 2023. Item 13, Tricog Land Bank's notice of proposed disposition for 1 Monroeville and 1 Pitcairn property as listed. Just a side note, I did talk to them. I know, Ms. Warning, you want them to come to the meeting. They will have a presentation on August 15th at the school board meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Item 14, approve the final cafeteria fund budget for the 23-24 fiscal year, the amount of $2,150,761. Item 15, approve the final general fund budget for the 23-24 fiscal year. Approve and adopt the final general fund budget in the amount of $96,246,648.62, reflecting an increase in expenditures of $3,737,948.62, or 4.4% more of the general fund budget for the 22-23 fiscal year. The final general fund budget does include an increase in the district real estate tax millage rate. Thus, the real estate tax millage for 23-24 fiscal year will be 22.8570 mils. This is the equivalent of $2,285.70 on each $100,000 assessed value of real estate property in the district. A side note, the district will require to utilize $3,470,000 of the unassigned fund balance to balance the general fund budget for the 23-24 fiscal year. Item 16, approve the homestead and farmstead exclusion real estate tax assessment reduction for 22-23. The amount is $1,840,192 for 7,822 eligible residents, which comes out to cost savings of $235.61 per homeowner that is homestead eligible. Item 17, extension of the current liquid propane gas agreement with Feral Gas for the 23-24 fiscal year. I did lock us in. We had a savings of $34,000, and a gentleman on the phone told me it's the lowest since COVID, $1.47 a gallon. I locked in it for the school year. Item 18, agreement for the continued participation in the Pennsylvania Department of Human Services administered school-based access program for the 23-24 fiscal year as noted. Item 19, award of bread and bakery vendor product bid cafeteria fund for the 23-24 fiscal year to Nichols Bakery as listed. Item 20, award of milk and dairy vendor products to Turner Dairy Farm as listed in Exhibit N. Item 21, approval of Title I, Title II, Title III, and Title IV federal funds as listed. Item 22, renewal and premium payments for district insurance coverage policies for the 23-24 fiscal year as listed. Item 23, approval of the agreement with the Allegheny Intermediate Unit to lease room 103 in the nurse's office at Moorhead Middle School starting October 21st, 2023 and terminating June 30th, 2026 as listed in Exhibit P. Item 24, disposal of old equipment, furniture, and various other miscellaneous items that are no longer serviceable for the district during the 23-24 fiscal year. Item 25, approval of sale of obsolete and damaged technology department equipment during the 23-24 fiscal year as listed.
Discussion, questions?
I have a question on 23. Is that the only thing that we're looking at right now at Moorhead Middle? Will that be the only room being leased?
Yes.
I mean, there has been talk about other things.
Talks about a lot of other things, but it's the only thing that's definite for now, and I figure we have a good relationship with them. Maybe
Okay.
this will open up the door for other, for other activities.
That's fine. Can I just say Moorhead spelled incorrectly on that? There's a lot of S's.
I'll correct that, thank you.
Anybody else?
This is the leased rooms. Okay, first it says room 103. The leased rooms will be, so it's more than one? Oh, okay.
It's formerly their DART program. So it's handicapped kids. They came, looked at the facilities, and they really liked it, so.
Anybody else? What thoughtful people. Moving on, board member resolutions, section G.
Yeah, so it's about a year ago, last year on May 24th, there was a school shooting, elementary school shooting in Uvalde, Texas. And there 19 students and 2 teachers were killed and many, many more injured. So I have 2 parts I want to say. One is that I would like to have a resolution to condemn the shooting, and our heart goes for the victims of the bereaved ones. And the other was that, so in their public gatherings, they read a poem. I thought it was they gave everybody an envelope with butterfly in it. And they read a poem. So I'll read, this is by Jill Haley, A Release of Butterfly. As you release this butterfly in honor of me, know that I'm with you and will always be. Hold a hand, say a prayer, close your eyes and see me there. Although you may feel a bit torn apart, please know that I will be forever in your heart. Now fly away, butterfly, as high as you can go. I'm right there with you, more than you know. Thank you.
Motion to approve?
Not action.
Oh,
Yeah.
And that reminds me, I forgot to mention that during executive session, we had 15 minutes overview of our safety and security update as required by Act 44, and that we're in compliance, and I think we are, without saying too much detail, we are above and beyond what other schools around us are doing as far as protecting our children. So that's all. Moving on. Number 2, Valerie.
Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, to acknowledge on the school calendar is Jewish New Year and Day of Atonement starting in 2023. And resolution acknowledging as the Jewish holidays. So I would like to, I know we'd have to amend our calendar that we have right now and recognize these holidays on our school calendar. And as Rabbi Barber had talked, I did go through the Pennsylvania Department of Education, and they do have the purpose of the policies that we already have, that for students that want to observe a religious holiday, they would need to give a written request from their parent or persons requesting it to teacher. So we could talk about as far as not scheduling the prom, which we've had before, that was in, it coincided with these holidays. So I would like to have that done.
So you're not asking for the school calendar really to be changed, you're just asking for it to be added so that people know that it's there.
Correct.
And if they're looking at the school calendar.
Correct.
Then they'll be more aware so they don't schedule things that would conflict.
Correct.
But you're not actually asking for the school schedules to change.
Correct.
So that doesn't really require, I don't think, officially changing the school calendar, she's just asking to have the holidays acknowledged on it.
And that's what we would need voted on, just to have those.
I just want to make sure people understand
Sure.
she's not asking to redo the whole calendar and take the days off for all
Correct.
students.
Yes.
Does anybody else have any questions? Discussion? No? Quiet. Okay, well, it's not an action item either. So, moving on. Are there any residents who would like to comment on non-agenda items? Anybody's not?
She didn't sign up, but she just showed up tonight.
I did sign in.
Yeah, she signed in.
Hello. I'm Lois Drumheller. I reside in Monroeville, and I heard that the conclusion of the renovation for the middle school up toward where I live, but I didn't know if there was a definite date on that. Is there?
We'd be looking at early October as a move-in opportunity for our students.
Yeah, that ties in with something that I know I had discussed with you. I had discussed with Mr. Brown.
Mm-hmm.
He's not here tonight, is he?
No.
I've yet to meet him in person. However, I became aware, not only as a respiratory therapist, I worked 43 years in the field before retiring, but I sit on a board of directors that is involved with an environmental organization who is concerned about a lot of things. I've in the course of having board members join, I was very fortunate to have one Jacqueline Nixon is actually the marketing director of something called Citizens for Radioactive Radon Reduction, or CR3. And so I'm an educator as well, although it's vocational-based education in health occupations. But Jackie, through the years, has tried to advocate material for children in the form of a calendar. And she's just stupendous with what she came up with. I wish I had a copy of the calendar with me, but this is a 12-month calendar that features heroes that are named after, like PICO would stand for an action hero that stood for PICO picometers. And if you have a house in Western Pennsylvania, chances are, if you have a basement that has cracks in it, you probably should have your house tested for radon. We use our basement for working out and et cetera, and I had renovation, and also because I was on the board, I had access to a radon monitor and found out that I was way past 4 picocuries per liter, which is, you know, the cutoff for suggesting that you have too much radon. Radon as a gas, you wouldn't know anything about its presence. But you would know, if you looked at the statistics, that it is the #1 cause of lung cancer in the non-smoker. And radon education, radon reduction education is something that we work on in terms of what we do with the community for the organization I'm with, and in particular that Jackie works on. And what I wanted to do, and I know you've passed your budget already, was somehow work out something so that maybe through some means you could get calendars for elementary, because if you saw these things, they would be educational tools as well. And I just need some direction, maybe somebody that I could follow up with, and I may have missed your budget this year for that. But on the other hand, they're really not all that expensive. I would just like to have a liaison that I could talk either from the school board, my neighbor perhaps, but also somebody that could bring this information to, so that you might be able to afford some of these calendars for your elementary school children.
You're not a nonprofit, then?
Pardon me?
I guess you're not a nonprofit organization?
Well, the CR3 is a 501c3 nonprofit. And those are the people that are doing radon reduction education. Jackie just happens to sit on the board of some other organization that I'm chair of called Protect PT, stands for Penn Trafford, but actually Penn Trafford and Allegheny County. And in terms of the harms from foul air and water from all kinds of industries. But radon is part of that.
Organization in Penn Trafford?
It's actually more of an educational and actually protecting the home is something that if you happen to live not here, we're pretty asleep at the switch here in Monroeville, but if you happen to be in, let's say, Trafford or Level Green, or a little bit further up there by Harrison Export City Road, you'll see quite a number of fracking wells that are in operation, and some of those people would need education in terms of testing water if they have wells, that type of thing. So yeah, well, there's a lot of scientific stuff that is done by our one of the staff members there. But radon reduction is something that's not Protect PT, it's happens to be by way of one of the board members that are there through her organization, who's trying to get this education out to children. And these calendars, I'm going to try to obtain maybe last year's calendar. Who could I share that with?
You could share it with me at my office, and then I can
So I
make
can
a
deliver that.
copy. Absolutely.
Yeah, because I need a starting point here, just to try to bring the awareness, and maybe it'll work its way into the classrooms, and maybe the calendars will be available.
Roughly know what the calendars sell for?
I know that there are packages. I was trying to answer this question for Mrs. Eastock today. Yeah. And I was trying to tell her that, well, you know, the way that the information is written for a donation of, let's say, $300, that would be something that would include 30 calendars, which would be enough for 30 classrooms, because not every, classroom needs more than one calendar. So, but there are different levels of support. There's support for things within their programs of education. There are corporate sponsors. And I wish they could just get it down to what would each calendar cost. I'm going to try to work so that you have that information, but they most certainly want to make sure that they're available. And I see it as a health education that would be geared toward the young learner.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Before Lois Drumhella leaves, she's a respiratory therapist expert. May I ask her a few questions about kids? In other words, we just had the COVID for about 2 years. So the COVID attacks people's lungs. They have breathing problems. Some kids already have conditions that need to be ameliorated. Some kids are quite healthy, and it's just like a bad cold and it goes away. So my question is, because you're in the field,
Or was.
well, you still have contacts in there.
Yes,
You
I
still
do.
have some expertise. So the question is, are schools getting the surveys and assessments that they might need in order to offer great input to the CDC and other respiratory therapist societies so that they can study this issue as kids go through the school system and exit? In other words, 5, 10, 20, 30 years from now, if kids have more cancer or heart disease or other ailments that could be traced back to this event that happened last year and the year before, are those surveys being designed right now by the experts or not?
To my knowledge,
Should school boards be
no.
knocking on the door of the legislature and say, let's collect better data so that the people who have expertise in this arena
Yeah.
can begin to use it in the
Now,
future?
to my knowledge, there's no instrument like that. But I think that would be at a national level under the CDC and the National Institutes of Health. But you're right. This should be a longitudinal thing, that it's a post-inflammatory disease. And there have been different strains, many different strains, and the initial ones were the most virulent. The ones later on that are existing now are a bad cold, but then there are long-term effects inflammatory-wise, because if you look at statistics in the UK and US, you will see that that's definitely affecting populations in terms of who's getting heart disease, who's getting vascular disease.
It's a hard question, so thank you.
Yeah, it's a hard one, all right. Thanks a lot. Thank you.
Mrs. John. Are there any other comments from residents since the field is fast?
Always have a million questions, but that is okay. I'm going home and Google. Okay, moving on to reports.
Just like to acknowledge a couple weeks ago, our graduating class. What a wonderful evening. Beautiful night. Recognized nearly 300 of our graduates walking across the stage. I know that they are prepared for their next step in adulthood. That's a culmination of a wonderful year, and I'd like to acknowledge everyone's involvement in making it a special evening. So thank you to all. That's all I have.
It was a great graduation. Okay, Dr. Rossi. Dr. Chips.
Nothing, thank you.
Mr. Ross. Thank you. You don't have any, we're hiring, please apply.
To know, I am pleased to announce, I was sad I couldn't share it in the budget meeting because we were kind of short, but I think we're going to have all of our own staff nurses this year through Gateway, so there will not be any third-party agency staff nurses. And we have seen a huge increase in paraprofessionals coming through the door, so I'm reluctantly ecstatic about the fact that I think we're moving in the right direction. So thank you everyone for helping support gaining momentum with recruitment. It honestly helps tremendously.
That's what I'm talking about.
Can I ask a question real quick? Okay. Are we doing anything for volunteers or anything that you said something about June, July? What was?
So I actually was making my rounds within the district for Fun Day and stopped at Ramsey and ran into a few FTO, PTO parents. And we discussed briefly, my hope is that after we get all of this hiring done in the next week or two here, I'll be able to pull those resources together. They have a lot of ideas to help streamline the process, make it more accessible and more readily available to those on demand. I know we've discussed in our meeting for the back to school kickoff that potentially maybe we could set up a table at that time as well to help generate some leads for volunteers. I can say wholeheartedly that May is a very rough month for volunteers. You have them coming in left and right, but I think that we've gained some traction, and me being involved in that process this May really helped me open my eyes to what pitfalls we have. So I believe that we are in a great place to move forward for the start of next year to have an increase in volunteers in every building. I do believe that.
Thanks.
Mr. Ritter.
Okay, take a big breath. Get your pens out, board members. I mean, this is a study session. Get ready to study. So I'm going to offer about 8 pages worth of notes. Some of these things are going to apply to you or us, and some of them aren't.
Are you
So
serious? Okay, right.
this is really important
copies
stuff.
of them.
This is really important stuff. So here's the Pennsylvania School Board Association's Platform Committee. So I'm going to go out there on our behalf. I'm going to sit with a bunch of folks out in Harrisburg, other school directors, and we're going to build our battle plans for what the PSBA and school directors should do when they knock on the legislators' doors and say, this is what's working, this is what is not working, this is where we need the money, this is why, and how. So this is some of the input that I gathered from the heads of the 5 families here at Gateway, so finance and transportation and others. So these are my scratch notes. Now, I need the help from the board members here to know what we can and should try to polish up and bring forward. So I don't want to waste my time or yours. But so, for example, let's start off with PSBA. We recommend the reduced screen time for the Surgeon General's response and TikTok. In other words, kids play on computers a lot. When COVID occurred, kids stayed in the basement. Now the question is, what can schools do to reduce the time that kids spend on the computer and get them out running around doing things, climbing stairs, joining sports or whatever? So can PSBA make some sort of recommendation that schools should follow the Surgeon General's recent report regarding the use of screen time? Now, if they do that, and we, school boards, we have to say, okay, let's find a way to measure the kids' screen time. I'm just saying, okay. So this goes back to what I just talked with Lois about. If kids have spent way too much time on the screen and they haven't figured out how to get out there and run around and climb trees and build things and stuff like that, and later on they're not in good shape and they have health concerns that they wouldn't have had otherwise, then they need the statistics to say how much time did the kids spend on computers versus 20, 40, 50 years ago. So they have to have those statistics. So I think this is a good one. Number 2, administrative recommendation to find a way to limit the artificial intelligence site usage and make it more transparent to teachers so that the teachers can eventually know whether a student is having artificial intelligence or CGPT write the student's homework assignment.
That's a tough one.
So how can a teacher with 20 students read all those reports and, hey, Johnny really did much better this week? Well, guess what? Johnny figured out how to get ChatGPT to write it. So the PSBA needs to ask the legislature to invent techniques to make it easier for teachers to know how best to use that technology well in classrooms and to avoid its misuse. Now, since it's nascent, since it's new, our teachers, no teachers know what to do with this thing.
Sure, just write the rough draft and honestly.
So we need this thought through by the legislature or their staff so that when they spill it back to the Department of Education and they spill it back to us, we have a cogent way to know what to do with these new things, these new toys, because they can really help or they could really hurt.
Yeah.
And then there's number 3, which just goes into a lot more detail about that. That is, people who design software, computer-based software, should build into that techniques that automatically understand and measure what a student's needs are so that the computer can take the place of the teacher and help Johnny learn the Pythagorean triangle theorem and not have the teacher interrupt the class to go over it and over and over until Johnny gets it. AI, artificial intelligence, and software that employs that can help supplement the teacher's time and help Johnny get from where he needs to go to where he succeeds in class and not have Johnny fall further and further behind. So in other words, there are really good things that it can do. The software vendors need to also be instructed that they need to put these pieces in their software so that when Dr. Rossi says we need to purchase such and such a software, we can ask the question, does it have a feature that's going to make the teacher's life worse or better? Right? So we need to ask them the question. But they need to know that we're expecting to ask that question of our software vendors. Okay, next, teachers shall be permitted and encouraged to receive assistance from artificial intelligence in generating and tailoring classroom educational materials while providing real-time lesson plans. Adaptive assessments could be tailored toward virtual tutoring, classroom management, tracking students' behavior and interventions, and professional development opportunities. In other words, this is a quick list of 5 things that we thought of off the top of our head where this can also help teachers. So why not? Let's do it. Let's be out there early and let's help push it in the correct direction. Okay, then switching hats. Charter schools shall be required to follow the same rules as traditional public or private schools. And then I go into specifics here. Double dipping, transportation, and on and on and on. And then the money aspect. Transportation, that really needs to be addressed much more specifically. That is, when kids need to be transported for special reasons, it costs them a whole lot more to have a special person on a bus, like a nurse and another agent and a bus driver, to transport one student to one location that the parent desires or needs that student to go to. And it needs to be managed or administrated better because, for example, some students require $60,000 or $100,000 a year, $100,000 to transport the student in a special way without reimbursement from the other district. In other words, they need to play together much more cogently so that one district, like our district, doesn't overpay for the education, free and fair education of their students. So that needs to be balanced a lot better, and it hasn't been done yet. So we're going to knock on the door and say, let's put some thought into how to do that. Now, the foster care and homeless students, these folks, our hearts always go out to a kid who's lost their parents or something's going wrong and they're in a foster situation. However, that desire, that well-meaning desire, can somehow cause the district to put the student in a situation where it costs the owning district much more money than the receiving district. So one of the things we could do, for example, is when a student goes to another location, like with grandma or grandpa when the parents die or something like that, and they're in another district, and our hearts say, well, let's let the kid finish his current semester with his buddies here in school. That's a good thing. But how long should we transport that student back and forth, an hour each way, before we say, okay, it's enough time, you need to begin to have that student go locally, because it's much more effective for that student to make new friends, and it's much more cost effective for our district rather than transport them back and forth. And if not, then the other district needs to sort of share the expense with us. So that's not been well thought through. With respect to foster care, and homelessness is always a difficult, one size does not fit all question. So that needs to be thought through. We've got some notes here about that. Mike Zarellis came up with a good one regarding the gambling reimbursement rates. Now, I'm not good with finances, and I'm not good with gambling reimbursement rates, but he knows how to tell the story that we were supposed to have gotten some more money for not just our district, but all districts, and that these rascals have been making a lot of more money than has been returned to us on a percentage basis. So I've asked Mike to try to help polish up a paragraph that we can take to the legislature and say, some of that money belongs to us, and it's been flat for a long time. Why has it been flat for a long time? Is it time to increase the reimbursement rates to us, or maybe even back pay somehow? I don't know. I'm not a finance guy, but this is a good question to ask. Next, school counselors. Over at Forbes Road Career Technical Center, there's one career counselor there for 900 students. That's a lot of counseling load on one person. So there are many other stories that career counselors or school counselors have in which they need help with that can be tossed to the state legislature and have them think through. So I've got pages of notes on that. I'm not going to go into it, but that's another really good area so that we can help them. And if we succeed in helping the school counselors, they can succeed in helping the students. Once the students are helped, it makes it easier on the teachers to do their job. So I think that's about all, no, one more page, I'm sorry. Students being funded for summer school course credit recovery programs. When a student has trouble during the year, they have a summer off. Well, rather than have a summer off, they should go to school and try to, you didn't pass math, well, take another course so that you can pass math and be ready to go into the school year, ready to roar. So the question is, how better to do that? Now, there are techniques that are in place, like the AIU, Allegheny Intermediate Unit has a summer online program. That's a one-size-fits-all. If Johnny wasn't able to figure out the Pythagorean, then try triangle. And this math course from the AIU didn't help him succeed in learning it because it's already too complex. It needs to be ameliorated. How to do that? I don't know. But this is something they should figure out. How better to use students' summertime off to catch up, so to speak, and get coursework credits so that they can graduate with a sufficient number of credits.
Is that the last one?
That's the last one.
Now, are you looking for our input on narrowing that down?
Some of us are experts on curriculum or safety and all these kind of things. So when you see this, give me a call. Let's sit down and chat for an hour or two, have some cookies. Maybe we can polish it up. Maybe we can't. And if not, that's okay too, because there are a lot of other school district, school board members working on these as well. So we don't have to tackle all of these, but it would sure be nice to, polish up one or two and see it be included in the PSBA's 23-24 legislative platform to help the kids out, help the teachers out, help the administrators out.
Okay, so talk to John or send him an email with your thoughts on narrowing down that 10+ items to 1 or 2. Correct? Okay. Mrs. Delaney. Thanks, John. That was a lot of work.
Yeah. A couple of things. As Dr. Short said, we had a beautiful day for graduation, and we even had 2 of our own, one board member and one of our administrators who were honored to have their own children graduating, Dr. Rossi and Ms. Sarushi, and we congratulate you on doing that and having that. Also, many are aware that the Rotary of Monroeville works very closely with our Gateway students and through Interact and just through other projects, but one of the ones that we're very proud of is that we award scholarships, and 5 of Gateway students did receive scholarships from the Monroeville Rotary, and those students are Sophia Hernandez, Caitlin Novak, Julian Livingston, Amaya White, and Marina Grotto. And we were just very, very proud of them. Now, some people just think I arbitrarily pick a color to wear. So this month I'm wearing orange. Now, one of the things about orange, this is, well, it was for a few days and I just turned it into a month. Gun violence awareness was June 5th through 7th. I just took it and ran with it. But that is a good reason, I think, to really enforce and try to make people aware there is a situation, and we need to be doing everything we can as educators and school board members to try to curtail and keep our students safe. Also, this is a very notable day in history, and this was in June 13th, 1967. Thurgood Marshall became the first Supreme Court justice, and that's, again, something that if you're looking just for tidbits of history, and I don't separate it between Black history or whatever history, it's history, and we're very proud of that. And that's all I have for today. Thank you.
I like her report more than mine.
Hers didn't give us work.
John, I believe we do have summer recovery for our students.
Yep.
We do at Gateway.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, I thought we did.
Because we have 2 that will be completing their high school education during the summer. So I just want to congratulate our graduates. It was a very nice ceremony. It's hard to watch kids that you've seen since kindergarten graduating, and you think, where did those 13 years go? But I wish them all the best of luck in the future. And one question. I believe at our last meeting, or the meeting prior, that we talked about the air conditioner that was going at University Park in Evergreen, that it was being held off because of parts or something. Is that still, does anybody know, happening? Because I understand Train, the company, showed up at University Park yesterday to install the air conditioning. So is that something that's happening, or does anybody know?
There was some upfront work that was being completed this summer. The actual unit itself is on back order. That will be installed for the summer of '24.
Okay, right. That's it?
The same thing would be happening.
Correct. Okay, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Nothing to add.
Okay.
We had a meeting for the back-to-school event. It went well. Principals were in attendance before the last day of school, so moving right along.
It's great. Okay, well.
Don't forget Leslie.
Oh, Leslie, are you still there, dear?
Yeah, I'm still here. I don't have anything. Thank you.
Okay, with that, then I seek a motion to adjourn. Second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.